Hello and welcome to Take Me Home, a special Christmas episode of Take Me Home, the podcast offering a social democratic alternative for the politically homeless. My name is Sebastian.Moore.
And I'm Hilary.salt.
And I'm going to turn my lights off just in case it blinds people that are watching on YouTube.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it might blind you as well. They're quite bright.
Lovely.
Do you think a flamingo is quite a Christmassy animal?
It's never occurred to me as a Christmassy animal before I saw Christmas lights around it, I confess.
Are you not aware of the flamingos that were present at the birth of Jesus?
No.
No, me neither.
And I don't think there's one in 12 Days of Christmas, is there?
No.
There are no flamingos flying.
No. Okay. Right. Today's episode then.
Yes.
So it's going to be a special Christmas edition where we look back at the year a little bit. We've come up with some end of year awards that are all folded up and put into this STP mug.
One of Wendy's mugs.
Exactly, made by our very own STP member Wendy. So we're going to pick them out and suggest our nominations for the specific awards. Would you like to go first?
Shall I pick one first? Yeah. Okay.
It's worth saying as well that we've done this off our memory without too much research. So there's probably a lot of things that we've forgotten. I think, have you got two there?
No, I've got one.
So this will be our suggestions, but if you've got your own, please do let us know, because I'm sure we've forgotten loads of potential moments from the year.
I can't remember more than 3 months ago.
Right, exactly.
Often,
there'll be a lot of recency bias in this.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Right, so this one is moment most likely to be remembered historically.
Okay. Shall I go first?
Go on.
I'm really intrigued to see what you've got for this, because I think there is just one significant one that is far above the others. I think it's the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
Oh,
have you got something different?
I've got something different, yeah.
Okay, so my reasoning is that when it happened, it was one of those moments where I thought that's the sort of thing that I will remember where I was.
Yes.
It was absolutely shocking. And in a time where I think news over the past few years, it's sort of, we've come to expect the unexpected, but that was really one that just completely shocked me. And I think it's different to a political assassination. This is the key thing. I think this is why it will be remembered historically, is that a political assassination, when you put yourself in these positions of power, if you're the president of the United States, you know that there is a risk that goes along with that.
Yeah.
I think 4 presidents have been assassinated over the course of American history. Charlie Kirk was somebody that was going to university campuses and filming himself having open discussions with students, often quite respectful discussions. And so I think it was a watershed moment where we really should, as a civilization, look at ourselves and go, whoa, okay, let's just pause for a second and think, how did we get here?
Yeah.
Whether that's happened or not, and whether we're likely to ask ourselves that and have a mature, grown-up conversation about the perils of speaking openly in public about political issues. I don't know if that's the case, but I hope to think that we will improve from here on out and have no more Charlie Kirks, no more assassinations. Okay.
So we haven't compared beforehand, so we don't know that we're going to each choose the same thing in any of these categories, but I didn't choose that.
Okay.
I chose Zelensky's first visit to the White House.
It was my second place. Yeah. Okay.
And I chose that because, for me, that was the moment, it's a really very clear moment in my head when it became clear to me that Europe is on its own and America isn't going to help us anymore. And you remember it, don't you? Mm-hmm. Excuse me. So there was all the kerfuffle about him not wearing a suit at first. So there was some less serious parts of it, but I don't know if you remember, so, Zelensky was saying there can't be any compromises with Putin, and Trump was saying you shouldn't hate Putin so much, and then Vance kind of came in and said that when Zelensky was correcting Trump on some of his explanations of what had happened, he was disrespecting the office of the president. So to me, that is such a memorable point, because it just made everything click in my head. And, you almost had a kind of, that feeling in your stomach when you just suddenly realise, You know, like when you're on a roller coaster and you suddenly start going down and think, oh, and for me, it was a moment like that.
And what was your feelings towards the way that Trump and Vance handled the situation?
Oh, it was awful. It was. They were trying to humiliate him, weren't they? And they did.
What was interesting is, and I know we've got to be fast because we've got quite a few of these to get through, but I'll just say I thought what was interesting about that was the way that it was covered on each side of the Atlantic, and how in America there was so much more sympathy for Trump and Vance, even from areas where you wouldn't expect it, where people were saying, how dare he come across and not even be grateful. And I thought, despite the political leanings of people in either place, they're siding with their own area, right? And it's part of the American mindset in many ways, I think, of that American strength, and that other countries should be grateful for their help and so forth. And yeah, I was appalled by the way they acted. It's not that it's surprising, but I just thought it was, do we want leaders that act like that? I don't personally, but
no.
There we go. Okay, next one.
Yes,
ready?
go on, you go. You choose.
Okay, so this is a bit more of a forward-looking one. Issue everybody will be talking about next year, but isn't yet.
Right, okay. This was a hard one.
Right, it's very hard.
I'm going to go with going back to the real world.
Okay, this sounds a bit left field.
So I think there's a real tendency now for people to think that the online world is the real world, that X is the real world. And it just isn't. And I think the more that people kind of realise that they're spending hours doom scrolling and talking to AI, the more people, particularly young people, I think, will think, this is not a good use of my time. And they will start, turning off their phones and getting back to the real world by choice, not because anybody's making them, but because they realise that you won't fall in love online. You need to be out there meeting people. You won't change the world online. You need to be out there talking and influencing people. And I think it will be good. I think it will be good for politics. I think it will be good for political parties. And I think it will be good for everybody's mental health. So I did want to choose something that was a good thing. So that's why I went with getting back to the real world.
That gives me a lot of hope. I like that as an answer. And I think one thing, when you make any prediction, it's one of those areas where I always think, no matter who you ask, however talented and knowledgeable they are just as likely to get it wrong as your average person on the street when you look at political predictions.
Yeah.
And it is hard for us to imagine what we will be talking about a year from now, but something like that, I can see that actually, where we look back and we think it's the I think is it the straight line paradox, where you look at historical tendency and you just assume it's going to continue going in one direction.
Absolutely.
And it'll actually change. I've gone for something slightly different, but maybe slightly related. So I was thinking about things like automation.
Yes.
I was thinking, but everybody's sort of already predicting that anyway. Mm-hmm. I was in America just recently, and they had these, I don't know if you've seen them. I think they trialled it in Milton Keynes. It's like little robots that deliver things on the street.
I think you'll find they trialled it in Sale, where I live. The co-op have them little robots.
Wow, okay.
You see them waiting to cross the road.
What's funny is, so they had them all over Miami. And what I found funny is that I imagine they're turned up sort of very highly conservative. So if there's any movement, they'll just stop. Mm-hmm. So you're walking and they just never get anywhere because there's people walking in the street and they just stop and wait for ages. Yeah. So I don't know if they're actually going to work. But no, I've gone for something different, which is the tech bubble.
Okay.
So this is the sort of thing that people are predicting, and I know you've got thoughts on it about the tech stocks and that they look artificially high. And a lot of people are predicting. Some are saying counter. No, it's not. It's not a bubble. It's not going to burst. It's the sort of thing that until it happens, it will seem unlikely. But if it were to burst, and suddenly all of that money that's gone into these tech companies for AI investment, and they realise that actually it's not going anywhere, and suddenly people start to pull their money out. If that were to happen, I think we'd suddenly say, "Oh yeah, of course, that was inevitable." Like if you were paying attention. I don't know. I'm not an expert, but it's the sort of thing I can imagine happening next year, and we think, how did we not, see this coming?
And we did see it coming in 2000 when all the
.com,
the .com bubble burst. Everybody kept saying it was going to burst, but the problem is you don't know when it's going to burst.
Exactly.
And all the time you're out of the market, you're losing money. So
yeah, but I thought it's an easy one for me to bet on, considering I'm not actually putting any money into the stocks.
Right, okay.
So I'm not going to lose anything.
Moving on. Well, your pension will be invested in some of them.
Gosh.
Sebastian. Right, okay, next one. Oh, political...
Oh, Friday's not happy. I thought Friday was going to have a festive outfit. Friday the dog has had a festive outfit on most of the week.
I forgot this morning.
Okay.
Political phrase you never want to hear again.
Okay, me first?
Go on.
So mine is the mess we've inherited.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
And who would be saying that and why?
Rachel Reeves, or Keir Starmer, or any of them really, any of the governments.
Yeah.
14 years of Tory rule.
Yeah.
That one, yeah.
So nobody will despair about the complete travesty that was 14 years of Tory government more than me. However, we cannot keep doing this. This part of it's built into the two-party system, and I do think as the two-party system slowly crumbles, you'll see it sort of mutate and become more and more sort of a parody of itself. And one of those things is you say the government has been awful, we're going to get into power because we're going to do all these things, and they come into power for their 5-year term and spend the whole of it saying, well, we've inherited a really bad mess from the last government.
Yeah.
And I sort of think I'm fed up with that type of politics. We had it in 2010 when the Conservatives took over. You might remember that famous note from Ed Byrne, there's no money left.
Liam Byrne.
Sorry, Liam Byrne. Ed Byrne's a comedian, I think. Yeah, Liam Byrne. And they just mentioned it again and again all the time. Yeah. The Conservatives. So it's not unique to Labour. No. I'm fed up with it as a phrase.
Yeah, okay. Well, I've gone for something similar, but not quite the same.
Fiscal black hole?
No.
Okay.
We are sticking to our manifesto pledges.
Wow, okay, yeah.
Because people only say that when they're not.
Yes.
Rachel Reeves particularly, who says that she is sticking to her manifesto commitment not to raise taxes on working people, even though she is freezing the tax and NI allowances. So people are going to pay more tax. Yeah. So you shouldn't have to say that phrase because you should be doing it anyway, sticking to your manifesto pledges. And you shouldn't be allowed to say it when you're doing exactly the opposite.
Next one?
Yeah, go on.
Funniest political moment of the year?
Oh, right, okay. So, yeah, I've got one of these.
Go on.
Keir Starmer. Do you remember that summit in Egypt where Trump said, "Where's the United Kingdom? Where are you?" And you're going to show it. You got it.
I think we've got this loaded up.
Oh, right. Okay, good.
United Kingdom. Where's United Kingdom? Where's Russia? Where? Come here. Is everything going good?
Very good.
It's very nice that you're here. These people all came in like 20-minute notice, and I think it's fantastic.
Because he walks over, sort of ready to say something, and really pleased with himself. It's me in the United Kingdom. And then he has to walk back. Bless him, I do feel sorry for him in that.
Yeah. And again, that was a very humiliating way to treat somebody, but I couldn't help laughing at that. You taught me something recently, didn't you, about Keir Starmer?
Did I?
Yes. How to spell his name.
Oh, how to spell his name. A lot of people spell it K-I-E-R.
That's how I thought it was spelt, and you corrected me.
Of course, he'll be named after...
Keir Hardie.
Who was... It's turned into a pop quiz.
Hero of the trade union movement and the Labour movement.
And founded the Labour Party.
Indeed.
And I almost think there is a chance that a Keir will have founded the Labour Party and destroyed the Labour Party.
Oh, well done.
Bookending it.
Yeah,
okay, my funniest political moment of the year. Any ideas? I don't know if you saw it when I was trying to load it up.
No. I don't know what this is.
To the audience, who might it involve? Funniest political moment of the year in 2025. There's only one person that could feature.
No.
It's Donald Trump.
Best fragrance. Come here, please.
I have more here, sir.
So he's giving perfume to.
So what we'll do is just take that, Joe, put it in, and then the other one is for your wife. How many wives? You guys had never know, right?
So he's with Ahmed al-Sharat, who was previously Mohammed al-Jalani, who we did an episode about a long time ago.
A long time ago, yeah.
Who's the current leader of Syria,
yeah.
And was basically he was part of the precursor to Al-Qaeda, or one of those groups.
Yeah.
And it's quite remarkable, and I think in 2025, it does feel like a satire, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And you've got somebody that was part of Al-Qaeda, now as the leader of Syria, in the White House with Donald Trump, who's the craziest president there's ever been, in my mind. And Donald Trump is giving him this perfume. I think it's like a Trump perfume. And he's spraying it on him and said, and this one's for your wife. How many wives have you got? And he says, just one. And he's like, I never know with you guys. And taps him on the back. And I just thought, yeah, this is the best timeline in my mind. At least it's entertaining. So that's my funniest political moment of the year. But there'll be loads more that I've forgotten about.
Yes, yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm intrigued to see what other people come up with.
Yes, let us know. Email?
Comment.
Comment. Yeah, however. Right, next one. Oh, I've broken that one. Oh, right. Most cringeworthy moment, biggest gaffe.
Yeah, okay. So I've gone for... This is quite a recent one. Here's the recency bias creeping in. I don't know if you saw this. I don't think we've actually spoken about it, but it was on a recent episode of Question Time. They did an immigration special, and I was away and trying to avoid politics, so I didn't watch it. But I did see this clip of Zach Polanski, which I'll play now.
1 in 5 care workers are foreign nationals. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't particularly want to wipe someone's bum.
So I think that was a big gaffe. And now I could be biased in this because somebody that's a fan of the Green Party might say to me, what's wrong with that? That's a perfectly good statement. But I think even Zach Polanski will realise that was a big tactical error because he's saying the quiet part out loud effectively. And I really think it was, and I know other people have made this claim, the sort of the Marie Antoinette moment, right? Let them wipe bums.
Yes.
Right? Like let them eat cake. You know, of really showing what that ideology, because I'm not going to sort of attack Zach Polanski as a person, but that ideology, what it leads to. You know, it says it's fine to have an underclass of people that come in and do the dirty jobs we don't want to do. I think that's a horrible way of thinking about it. It's a horrible way of seeing the whole immigration debate. I think it was a massive gaffe from him. Agreed.
So I went for something that maybe is a bit funnier.
Okay.
So I went for the launch of Your Party.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if you followed
I did
that.
a little bit, yeah.
So this was the launch when everybody was meant to be friends and it was meant to be a show of unity.
But what is Your Party? Just for people that
so
don't know.
This is the Zara Sultana, Jeremy Corbyn, new party of the left. And there was a whole load of shenanigans, before the launch where I think Zara Sultana announced it before everybody else was ready, so she announced it unilaterally. She had a member portal up and running and lots of members joined and she took money off them, and then that was then taken down and there was an argument about where the 800 grand went. So there was all kinds of shenanigans, and the launch of the party, 2 days, was meant to be the show of unity. But then Zara Sultana boycotted the first day because she said it had been taken over by these faceless bureaucrats. Shout out to faceless bureaucrats. I quite like a faceless bureaucrat. Somebody has to run payroll, don't they? There was a whole lot of arguments, and so this was meant to be the day of unity. Then she boycotted the first day. She spoke on the second day. Jeremy Corbyn was sitting behind her and clapped after she spoke, and then he just fled. And it was just a bit of a chaotic day, really. Not I think, what they would have hoped for. And, you know, there were all these... I think when Jeremy Corbyn was speaking, there was a kerfuffle because somebody was being ejected for protesting. They'd made all these decisions about loads of people were going to be not allowed to join the party. People from the Socialist Workers' Party weren't allowed to join.
Yeah.
So it was just utterly chaotic.
Yeah.
So biggest gaffe.
A school project gone wrong.
Yeah.
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 Whose turn is it?
I think it's your turn, isn't it?
Okay, I have got... Oh, okay. UK Politician of the Year. Now, this doesn't say Best Politician of the Year. UK Politician of the Year. So you can sort of interpret it how you want.
Yeah, so it's not somebody I particularly like, but I think she has played a really good hand this year.
I'm intrigued. Who?
I'm going to go for Shabana Mahmood.
Okay, interesting.
Home Secretary now.
Okay.
Now, I know there's some cynicism about whether her plans on illegal immigrants will work, but I do think she is taking a kind of step-by-step rooting out of all the things that are wrong about immigration, and that needs doing. So I think her changes on time to resettlement are, interesting. The fact that you shouldn't just give people a free pass. I think some of the things that, the less serious things, like she's stopped people using unlimited taxes to get illegal immigrants to hospital appointments, things like that. And I just think to do that kind of stuff in the Labour Party, where everybody will be calling her every name under the sun, I think is just really brave. So,
okay,
I'm going for her.
That's an interesting answer. One that it hadn't occurred to me to choose. My answer is another Labour politician.
Okay.
So this is quite surprising. Imagine you see that category and people think we've both chosen a Labour MP. So I think there's a few different nominations. I did think of Zach Balansky, again, and somebody I'm not a fan of, but I think he's done a really good job at growing the Green Party and to better represent the base of the Green Party.
Yep.
And you've seen it pay off massively. My politician of the year is Jonathan Hinder.
Oh, I did think about Jonathan, actually.
Labour MP for Pendle and
Clitheroe.
Clitheroe. I've met Jonathan a couple of times this year, and I think he is fantastic.
He's great.
He is a dying breed in the House of Commons as a principled MP that doesn't just say what his party or what his side wants him to say. He comes out and he stands for what he thinks is right. Often that is what I think is right, because I think we come from similar traditions of politics. And somebody to look into if you're not familiar with Jonathan Hinder. He does some great videos on. He puts them on Twitter. His latest sort of campaign is to push back against the sort of the council tax system that we have, which is done, as we've talked about and you've mentioned before on the podcast.
Yes, he's actually got a newer campaign than that, I think.
Has he? Puberty blockers?
Well, he's
doing a lot.
He's good on that, but he's also on housing. He's been talking about the problem with building things for people to invest in rather than people to live in. Mm-hmm. So he's done a video which shows you all the tower blocks, which are all just black at night.
Yes.
Nobody in them most of the time.
Yeah. Well, and also, and I've only met him a few times, but he comes across as a very nice person.
He's lovely, yeah.
Which is also helpful in politics, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, next one.
Is it me?
Yep.
Okay, next one is International Politician of the Year.
Okay.
So same rules, doesn't have to be somebody you like, but somebody you think has had a good year.
So I can't think of anybody past Zoran Mamdani.
Oh.
So he's my International Politician of the Year.
Okay.
And I'm sure this is one of those where if I actually really dug into it and thought about some lesser known countries and areas where they've been in elections, I'm sure there's somebody that's done an amazing job, come from nowhere. But Zoran Mamdani is somebody who was a New York assemblyman, I believe that's what the title is, and has come from nowhere really to build a campaign, you might say a grassroots campaign, and challenge for the Democratic nominee for mayor, and then has since become elected. And as is always the case, I think, in the Democratic Party, if somebody a bit less orthodox wins the primary, often they get challenged in the main election. So Andrew Cuomo, who lost the primary, then challenged him in the election, but he still won, Mamdani. And I think it was a campaign that, regardless of what you think of him, and I know a lot of people are not fans, I think it was a campaign that was laser focused on issues that people really cared about, like housing and the cost of living. And he just focused on those relentlessly. He did so with positivity. He's a really good speaker. And if you see him interviewed, he's very good at taking a question and pivoting. And it's something I think anybody that works in politics knows about. You've got to take the question and then pivot to something that you want to talk about, because you have to get your messaging out there. And it's no good thinking, oh, well, they'll ask me about my thing in a minute, because they won't necessarily. So you've got to be able to do that. And I think he's hands down for me the International Politician of the Year.
Wow, okay. So I've chosen somebody who could not be further away from that.
Donald Trump?
No, it's a woman for one thing.
Which country?
Italy.
Georgia Meloni?
Yeah.
Ooh, okay, interesting.
I thought you'd probably hate me choosing her.
No, why?
Well,
Meloni's interesting, I think.
She is very interesting, yeah. But would we call her far right?
I wouldn't. But
Okay, that's an overused term, far right and fascist these days, isn't it? She's certainly very authoritarian, and has a very murky past, I would say.
Yeah.
But she's done sterling work, I think, in Italy. Politico have just named her the most powerful person in Europe.
Okay, interesting.
She's played quite a role in this, this trade deal that the EU are trying to strike with South American countries. Mercosur, yes, yeah.
I can see something about that, yeah.
Yeah, and I think she's pretty much, lined up with France, and therefore they will torpedo it, I think. But, I wouldn't say Italy's economy is back on its feet, but she's definitely done some stabilising of the economy. And just to run a stable government in Italy is a bit of a success, isn't it?
It is, and I think that's a really interesting answer, because I think in some ways she's just gone about her business, and it's not been massive sort of mainstream news for any big moments like Trump would be. And I've asked a few people, because I lived in Italy for a few years, and I've asked friends there, like, what do you think of Meloni? Because to me, like you just said, she is unusual as an Italian politician. Yeah. Italy's politics is infamous for the fact that it's so unstable, and you get somebody come in, the coalition breaks down, and there does seem to be a real change with her, where it feels like there's that stability. Certainly from the outside, it seems like she's moved further to the centre or the mainstream as she's governed, like she's trying to govern for the whole of the country. So it seems from the outside like she's doing a really good job. Her approval ratings are huge compared to, for European countries, it's sort of unheard of, her approval ratings. So I've asked a few friends what they think, and even quite liberal friends aren't massively against her. They would say something like, it's good to have a woman as our leader, and it's a shame that it's her because she's a bit right wing. But I expected them to be more vociferous, a little bit like liberals would be in America against Trump. It doesn't seem to be the case. So she's doing something right for sure. So I think that's an inspired answer.
She's also 5'2", like
Is
me.
She? Okay.
I don't know if you saw a picture of her with the guy, the president of Mozambique.
No.
He was 6'8".
Right.
And the difference was just stunning. Yes, so that was my choice.
Very good. Okay.
Next one.
Oof. Okay. Most underreported news story of the year.
Okay. So I went for something that we actually did cover on Take Me Home, but hasn't been covered, I don't think, as much it should have been, which is the massive backlog in court cases. Mm-hmm. And interesting, it is being talked about a bit now because of the solution that the government are putting forward, which is an end to jury trials. But cases that are going to court now are being listed for like 2028 or 2030. And the idea that you're going to wait that long for justice is not justice for either a victim or the person who did it. So it's just staggeringly incompetent, the way that the justice system is being run. And I don't have very much faith in our current minister to sort it out.
Right. And the current minister is?
David Lammy.
Justice Secretary.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think an end to jury trials is the answer. I think there's loads of things they could do. I mean, when we talked about this on an earlier episode, I mentioned that there's a cap put on the number of judge sittings that there can be by governments just to manage budgets, and they just need to fund the service properly, need to invest in the buildings and in the staff. They need to particularly invest in getting prisoners from prison to court on time. Sometimes you lose a whole day of a case because the system, the transport mechanism for getting the prisoners to court has failed.
Right.
And that is just unacceptable, in my view.
Well, I've gone for something a bit more international.
Okay.
For me, this was always going to be an international thought in my mind, because I think underreported news stories, you often have massive events taking place in the world where the media perhaps deems them less significant to us.
Yeah.
And I'm interested in those things. So I thought about things like Armenia, Azerbaijan. So that's somewhere that I'm really interested in. And since Azerbaijan has sort of retaken Nagorno-Karabakh, this enclave, whatever you want to call it, I don't hear anything about that. So I have to go and actively search it out. And I'm typing it into Google to find what's happening. Trump actually brokered a deal between Armenia and Azerbaijan, and there's some interesting things going on there about perhaps a road through the south of Armenia for Azerbaijan to be able to get to its own exclave of Nakhichevan. So there's a lot of stuff going on there. That's not my pick, though.
Oh, right, okay. You mean you having two?
That's my nomination, because I suppose it's the what do you call that when it's, I can't think of the phrase where you say it's like the runner-up.
Yes, okay. Honourable mention.
Honourable mention. That's my honourable mention, exactly. No, but I was going to go for, in a time of so many conflicts, and we've had Israel-Palestine in the news massively this year, Ukraine, Russia, I thought Sudan is getting a few more mentions, but I'm going to go for Myanmar, because how often does anybody hear about Myanmar?
Almost never.
And it's still raging, that civil war there. It's horrific, some of the news stories that you do uncover when you look into it. And I feel like the only reason we don't hear about it is because it's in a part of the world that is far away from us. So I think it's worth, especially if you're somebody that gets, I was going to say gets a bit overheated about certain conflicts in the world, I'd say it's worth looking into others, just to have a more balanced idea of the different issues going on geopolitically. And I'd like to see more news stories about that. I'd love a news site that just focused on sort of international conflicts.
Right, we're moving on. And no more cheating by having two. That is cheating.
Okay, sorry.
I'm counting that as cheating. Right. Moments that broke the left-right script.
Oof, okay.
A moment, just one.
Okay, I love this because there's a couple in my mind, but I'm only allowed one. So I'm going to go for the tariffs. I was interested to see what you've gone for here. But the tariffs, so that if you remember Trump's Liberation Day, was that back in April, I think?
Yeah.
Where he put what he would call reciprocal tariffs on nations, and hit some nations with massive tariffs. And then the news has sort of died down since then. But I remember what I would say is the liberal media were up in arms. And what I found really interesting about it is that you couldn't tell what anybody would think about it based on where they were on the political spectrum. And I'm fascinated. I think for me, that's what really drives me, because in a time of polarisation, I love issues where you don't know where people are going to be, and you can find a friend of ours, Rob, I love it when he says it's strange bedfellows, right? And there were a lot of liberals, particularly in America, and it was... So if you looked at the polling, the Republicans were kind of split. They were somewhat supportive overall on the tariffs because it was Trump that was doing it. The Liberals were quite heavily against. But of course, this is an issue that in the past would have been flipped around the other way, as typically people on the left were a little bit more sceptical of open markets and open trade without any sort of idea of where your goods are being produced, by whom, and under what conditions, etc. And there were people coming out, and I mean, I'm obviously giving people an idea of what I think because I'm a little bit biased on this, but people were coming out advocating for, free trade and cheap goods from China. And there were other people on the right, people on the left, saying, actually, we probably should want a little bit of protectionism. And perhaps we don't want our markets just to be flooded with cheap Chinese goods. So that was my moment that broke the left-right script.
Okay. I've gone for something a bit depressing, really, I'm afraid.
Assisted suicide?
No, this is the failure of the left to properly condemn attacks on our Jewish communities. I mean, since the Second World War, the left has defined itself by its defence of the Jews in the Second World War. That kind of anti-fascism has been the kind of mythology of the left. It's kind of almost a founding myth of the modern left. And the kind of that whole script, post-Second World War script, which is, for us as a nation, I think, as well as for the left in particular, has been, kind of the foundation on which we judge things. And for the left to no longer feel able to absolutely condemn attacks on Jewish people, I think is utterly appalling. I'm an angry woman of Manchester today, aren't I?
Do you know, I was just looking in there to check that there's one left so that we don't finish on this note.
Really bad, really, really depressing.
I think
perhaps won't dwell on it, but I think
you're alluding to a point that, and I know there's a massive amount of disagreement on this wherever you are, and there's a lot of nuance wherever you sort of sit on these issues, or on the issue of anti-Semitism and Israel and what Israel has done in that part of the world. And what I think is perhaps interesting and slightly concerning is that people who consider themselves on the left, who are using this to pivot, to talk about their condemnation of the genocide in Gaza, they find common ground with people on the right, who are actually far right, who are massively anti-Semitic.
Absolutely.
And what's interesting is if you see a conversation, and you can online where people are having these sorts of debates and stuff, and in video format as well, where they'll say, yes, absolutely, glad you're against this, and then they'll start to hear much more really concerning sort of far right views, and they go, okay, yeah, and like they're trying to sort of end the conversation because they're starting to realise who they're aligning themselves with.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, next one.
Yeah,
I think
let's not finish on that one.
Is this the last one? I think it is. Okay.
Good.
The last one, the speech of the year.
Oh, right. So I've cheated a bit on this one.
Okay.
So it's not a speech, really. But I've gone for the Supreme Court judgment on what does sex mean in the Equality Act. People will remember that this is for Women Scotland case, and the fantastic decision of the Supreme Court was that for the purposes of the Equality Act, sex means biological sex, and it always has done. So they're not changing the law. They're saying this is what the law means. This is what it always has meant. And there's the great line about, says something along the lines of, for it to mean certified sex, meaning somebody who has a gender recognition certificate, for it to mean, if it were to mean certified sex, it would make the law incoherent. So I'm going for the Supreme Court judgment.
What do you think I'm going for?
Is it Vance?
Yes.
Yes.
There was only one answer to this question. J.D. Vance's speech, quite early in the year, I would say, at the Munich Security Conference.
That's right.
And for me, it's the best speech I've heard in years. I didn't agree with all of it. I know that people who don't like Vance will probably hear that and think, oh, how could you say that was the speech of the year? For me, it was a no-brainer. And if you're ideologically against him, you might fail to see how much of an impact that speech had for uniting people in different parts of the spectrum that say, yeah, actually, he has a point there for certain things, and he could actually start to form a bit of a consensus. And I think he showed signs that he will be a much more unifying president than Donald Trump if he gets elected.
Yeah.
Lines like the biggest danger does not come from outside, but from within. Our own illiberalism and our own lack of tolerance and so forth. And it was a really inspiring speech, I found, and something that I think in an era where oratory has sort of disappeared from political life, and it's a really sad thing about the modern political world, is that there aren't any great orators anymore. I think he sparked that back, perhaps. So, yeah. J.D. Vance.
Okay. So those were our picks. You may have quite different ideas. And if you do, comment and let us know. And let us know who you agreed with more.
Right, okay, who was right? Thanks for listening, everyone. See you in the new year. Hope you have an amazing Christmas and back at it in 2026.
Yeah, have a very SDP Merry Christmas. If you have Christmas money to spend, perhaps visit the SDP website where you can find your way to the SDP shop. And have a fantastic time over the Christmas period. Bye for now.